Alright, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and very good morning. Alright, students, designing effective organization. Welcome back. Yeah, today we will have second chapter. Moving on to the second chapter because the last class, if you still remember, we have the first chapter on the organization and organization theory, and I already upload in YouTube, and you can subscribe my channel Noorsyalina Nordin, and also I already share in the group WhatsApp. Okay, so for today we have chapter 2, strategy, organization design and effectiveness. Again, gentle reminder to all regarding the manual. I still having some progress with the supplier. So hook by crook by this week, I will tell you how much the price of the manual and also delivery cost is depending on where you are staying. Okay, and after that, I will share with you all the link. Okay, in order to order the manual. Alright, because I have some private message asking about the total price. I still cannot get the response yet because they are still waiting from me, actually, the supplier. All right. Okay, so all right, we move to the topic today. Okay, again I repeat, strategy, organization design and effectiveness. I hope that my audio here is clear to you all. Okay, hoping so. Okay, okay, I already increased the volume. All right, so all right, so what is are you hear me? Okay. So what is actually the okay strategy, direction and organization design? Okay, as you can see, this is the diagram regards to how does organization goal. And if you can see, as we learned in the previous class, uh, in the organization, what we should know is about the external environment, and we have internal situations. And if you realize from here, under the external environment, before this I highlighted on, we have PESTEL acronym, which is we have political factor, economic, social, technology, ethics and legal system. And if you realize from this external environment, we have the opportunities, threats, uncertainty, and also the resource availability. And if you realize from the diagram also, we have the internal situation, which is regards to the SWOT. Okay, we have the strength, weaknesses, opportunity and threats. And then if you realize, they also have distinctive competence, and then leader style, and also the past performance. So when we talking about the internal situation, is regards to the internal environment within the company, within the organization itself. And when we're talking about the external environment, is regards to the external organization, which is we have this. Oh yeah, sorry, the SWOT just now. SW is only for the internal factor, and ONT, okay, opportunity and threat, is under external environment. Okay, sorry for that. Okay, for the strategy intent, we have of course in the previous class also chapter, if you still remember, we have to define on what is the mission and what is the official goals. Okay, so when we're talking about mission, we are talking about the current goal. Okay, the current goal is mostly been occurred during 6 months. Okay, and then 6 months to 1 year and less than 2 years, whereby for the vision is for the long-term goal is mostly probably more than 5 years. It's about long-term goal. And when we're talking about the official goals, we are talking about how does the goals can be directed to the company in order to achieve, okay, their vision and mission, at the same time their objective. Okay, and then if you realize from here also in the strategy intent, the green color boxes there, okay, we have select operational goal and competitive strategies. So when we're talking about the select operational goals, we are talking about how does the company is operating their their production line, how they do their products, and also how do they serve the services to the customer. So ongoing of this operation goals, okay, they have to make sure that every single tools, method, production line that been taken by them must be, of course, number one is about cost efficiency. Okay, and the second one, we're talking about the competitive strategies. We are talking about how does the company able to compete each other. So we are talking about how does they use the intellectual property, for example, like brand name, trademarks, or maybe they use certain of copyrights. Okay, so this is the thing to make the pattern become different from the others, and of course distinctive uniqueness of this category can make they are competing fairly and square with the other competitors. And then under the organization design, okay, we have structural from learning versus efficiency. So in the previous class also I keep on mentioning about what is efficiency concept is maximize profit and minimize cost. And then in terms of the information and control system, we have in terms of how does they use a certain of the information, and certain information might be certain will be become private and confidential, and how they use the certain medium or tools in order to control the system of the information, because we are talking about the rival. Okay, when we are competing with the rival, of course automatically we are actually have to know what is do and don'ts, and what the things that we can actually spreading, what the things that we can share, and what the things that maybe have to be PNC, huh? And then production technology, we are talking about how does they use a certain of technology. For example, in the universal, what we use is like JIT, just in time, and we use like Kanban system. And if you realize in the Western countries, what they use is something like assembly line in order to expand, to enhance their production line. The reason why I mentioned about JIT, maybe this is a new terms for you. Okay, just in time is actually derived from Japanese people, Japanese country. Yeah, this Japan country. So how is it it's operating? Actually, JIT is only implement how much you want to produce, what when it is the time to produce, and the quantity you want to produce only at the certain time. So they're not actually expanding and produce more than they want. Okay, because they want to, number one, the target goal to reduce in terms of the wastage. And then the second, when we're talking about JIT system, is derived from the concept of supermarket method. So supermarket method mostly we are talking about which the product might be demand from the customer first will be retrieved. Okay, and so do when the product is already out of the stock, and then they will make sure that before the stock might be finished, okay, before the customer demand for it, they have to make sure the stock might be stacked into their stock line. And then we're talking also about the human resource policies and also incentive. This is regards to how does we use a certain of the initiative, and also how we want to reward a certain of human resource that working with us. Okay, so we are talking about how does the company able to pay for the company, for example, how the company able to pay for their employees performance, whether they want to give some merit pay, they want to give some bonus, they want to give stock, they want to give share and bonds to the customer, and sorry, to their employees. So when we're talking about the policies, we're talking about the rules and the condition, whether as a certain of the status of the employees, whether you work permanently, whether you work as a contract staff, whether you are part-time staff. So how they want to make sure that this kind of the policies can be implemented to this kind of status of the employees, because when we're talking about the human resource incentive, this is one of the indicator factor in order to ensure that we can influence them to retain to the company, because without the good incentive, without good benefits, the employees will be run away and switching to the other company. And then we're talking about the organizational culture, we are talking about the culture, work culture of the company. Certain maybe local company, I'm not racist to the end of the opinion, but I'm trying to say is if let's say local company, mostly we are too comfort and have a something like comfort zone when you are working within the same culture. But if let's say you are working with the MNC company, multinational company, let's say you have a diversity workforce, and this kind of thing, you can learn many kinds of the how the working style from the different background of the employees and also the employers. So when we have the different work culture, actually it can enhance of our skill on to work with the other culture. At the same time, we can actually improvise on how we work. Okay, for example, into like we are working with the Japanese company. Okay, so the Japan company mostly they are very concerned about the time management. So in that, indirectly we can become more disciplined and also obey to the rules, because as you know, Japanese is very good in terms of how they are disciplined themselves and obey to the rules. And when we're talking about inter-organizational linkage, this is talking about how you interrelated with one company to the company. I give very simple example as Proton, or maybe now it's been known as DRB Highcom. Okay, the company as a manufacturer company, automobile industry in Malaysia. So when we're talking about inter-organizational linkage, how does this DRB Highcom company able to actually have some linkages with the other company? Example, if they want to make like one car, right, model of car, they want to have to make sure that they need something like spare part, right? They need something like engines, they need something like windows, they need something like, for example, steering, they need some what we call tires. So every single of this spare part of the item in the car that made to make a car, they need some linkages with the other companies. So for example, we need suppliers in order to supply the tires. Example, Malaysia is the country who have the resources of the rubber, but how shame is because we are not the main exporter for the tires, and we have to import our tires is from Japan, which is Michelin. So bear in mind, I'm not condemning, but this is the fact that we have to know that we have the resources, but in other way around, we can actually to produce the thing, because in terms of capitalizing the human resource in our own country, we are depending too much on the foreign workers, because for them, foreign workers is more reasonable price to be paid. Okay, and it's considered low labor cost. All right, and then the last one, we have the effectiveness outcomes. We're talking about goal attainment, resources efficiency, and also strategic constituents. So we're talking about the goal attainment. Okay, this is regards to what is the outcomes after all you regards with the external environment, internal environment, and then we have the CEO top management team in order to regards all the policies. At the end, what is the consequences? So the number one is about goal attainment, whether you can achieve the goal or not in the short terms or the long term. So that's why we have the mission and also vision. And we're talking about resources, how well the company organization able to fully utilize the resources. As I mentioned before, efficiency concept, whether you can maximize the profit, whether you can minimize the cost. And yeah, you see the efficiency, okay, with regard to that. So when we're talking about resources, how much you can get the low cost for the raw materials and resources. Example, China is the country who has actually the country who the producer country, negara pengeluar. Okay, I'm so sorry student, because I'm a little bit have to translate in bahasa Melayu. Okay, and then when we're talking about the strategic constituents, this is regard to how you want to make sure that the company able to competing in the fair and square and equally, and also in other words, in a stiff competition, because when we're talking about strategic constituent, how you can actually able to proceed with your progress from one step A, step B until Z, for example, and how you want to make sure that they have a very effective manners in how they want to achieve their strategic goals. Okay, so I hope that my explanation for this diagram is simple, as if you can get your manual letter, you can have a very comprehensive explanation compared to mine. But I want you to understand well. Okay, because in final exam, let's say this question come out with this diagram, and you have to explain with your own understanding. So this is how we want to you to understand it well. All right, and then organizational goal, a desired state of the affairs that an organization attempt to reach. When they said the word attempt in here, you are the process to try, okay, in order to achieve the organization goal. All right, so moving on, okay, because this is already in a part that they have to explain one by one. Just now I already sum up it, okay, but in here they go deeper, okay, the explanation on this. Okay, organizational purpose. Okay, what is the organization purpose? Okay, we're talking about purpose, we are talking about where actually the direct or the path of the company. So when we're talking about the strategic intent, organizational energies and resources are directed toward a focus, unifying and completing a goal. So we have the mission, competitive advantage, and also core competence. So these three will be effective to the operating goals. For example, the overall performance, resources, market, employee development, innovation, change, and also productivity. So when we're talking about this thing, it's actually indirectly it can enhance, okay, enhance, we can improvise the company operating goals, okay. Example, I take like innovation and change, okay. Each company, okay, when we're talking about change, right, they have to do some changes, okay. We cannot just say by word and put into the business plan but you not implement it, because we are talking about the strategic organization goals right now, okay. In order to make sure that it's strategic organizational goals, we have to make sure the things that you put into the written have to be implemented as the real one, okay. So in here, when we're talking about innovation and change, we are talking about how does the company able to improvise their product in the technology, for example, using a, for example, okay, nowadays is the era of we call as um do you know that concept? Uh, mm, okay, AR. Okay, artificial robotic. Okay, so when we're talking about these kinds of AR technology, this is regards to the technology that using robotics as a part of your manufacturing and process. So you don't want to use any more uh or okay, artificial robotic or artificial intelligence, AI, okay. So they have two concepts here, okay. Artificial intelligence is regards of the system on how you can actually use to develop a certain system or software, or maybe we can say technology, in order to replace the human labor usage in the production, okay. Example, very simple example, you go to McDonald's, right? You realize or not, there is a certain kiosk there whereby before this, if you want to order certain of our menu, our food, drinks, we have to meet the cashier person and we have to order it. Okay, so this is one of the concept example of how does this technology able to replace this human labor, okay, human or manual labor in nowadays, in now time, in a modernized time. So what is the important in here was um, the good things about this, it can actually, number one, we slash of the waiting time, okay. And the customer nowadays is more high tech, okay, IT savvy, and they can use, okay, they can use this kind of kiosk in order to operate what to order and some more. And in terms of the payment also, we can just swipe the card and then we can make the payment, so it's easy like touch and go, okay. So uh yeah, that is one of the artificial intelligence that you can actually replicate, okay, to the other industry. This is once by done by McDonald under food and beverages industry, and I believe that the another more, many more industry already started these kinds of technology, okay. No more human labor, but the consequences in negative effect is was the human labor needs also work, right, need also job. So when they have too much artificial intelligence replacing the human usage manual labor, it can make this job become lost. So the opportunity of the job will become very strange, and totally it can yeah, effect to the human itself, okay. Human will lose the job and they need a job, and at the end there will be like begging for the job. You get me? So this is the consequences where we have too much relying on the technology, and yet the manual labor will be ignore. Okay, all right, and then we moving on to, this is one example of mission statement for Machias saving banks. So we have mission, vision, and principle. So this is just one example. Maybe you can see in the internet by Google search. They have many more actually mission statements from the another organization. Okay, and then here we have the organizational operating goals. Okay, they put into the diagram. So I want you to remember they have 3, 4, 5, 6 element here. So at least you can remember 5 from here. Okay, so this is the thing I already mentioned just now through the diagram. Okay, so what is the importance of the goal? Okay, it's easy. When we're talking about goal, it's something like we're talking about what is our intention, niat, nawaitu. Okay, so when we're talking about what is our niat, nawaitu, intention, what we want to achieve. Okay, so that's why we know that it start with our intention first to achieve that goal. So that's why when talking about mission, okay, official goal, communicate organizational purpose and value. So as the company, as the organization, you may want to know why is the reason you exist, why is the reason you have to be established. So there must be a reason, ada tujuan, okay, purpose. There is the reason behind that, and the value, what you want to actually adopt and adapt the value, okay, in this organization. And they say in here, based on the legitimacy. So of course, when we're talking about based on of the legitimacy, we are talking about the legal system. We are talking about how does your company, your organization might be accepted legally by the society. And then operating goals provide employee direction and motivation. So in other way around, when we have this operating goal, indirectly it can give some motivation, boost the motivation and direction to the employees where we should go, not where I should go, because we're talking about we. It's a group, because you are working with your employees. And we offer a decision guideline. Okay, and then of course when we're talking offer decision guideline, we have some rules and regulation, do and don'ts of the company, and indirectly it able to actually giving some impact to the employees, whether they have to be obey with the rules, and what should I do and what shouldn't I do. And then define a standard of the performance. Standard of performance, in the other words, we're talking about KPI, key performance index, or key performance indicator. We're talking about how does it can be able to use in order to achieve our organizational goal. Okay, so indirectly this is important, because if the employees do not know what to achieve, they do not know have what is their benchmark, what is their standard of performance. For those Muslim here, right? I believe that you know this term. This called itqan. Itqan is in Arabic terms, meaning to say that it's a benchmark standard. Okay, that you want to achieve of your performance, there must be a standard performance. Example, if you do not know what's mean, okay, in Islam, when we performing our salat, we must have khusyuk. So that is our itqan. That is our standard of performance. We must khusyuk. When we performing our fasting, okay, we want to do our fasting, there must be son khawas, tanpa was-was. There must be have that. That is standard of performance our ibadah. And when we want to perform our hajj, okay, umrah, for example, it have to be mabrur, for example. So we're talking about this standard of performance in our ibadah. So do, okay, with our goal. So this is talking about the standard of performance whereby we are doing our work to make sure that this thing can be achieved according to requirement of the company. All right. So selecting strategy and design. So a strategy is a plan for interacting with the competitive environment. So if you see from these notes, they have something like a strategy underlined and been here. Okay, meaning to say is strategy is plan. Managers must select specific strategy design and Of course, it's regards to the certain theory. It's supported by formulating strategy. We have Potter's five forces, and then we have Miles and Snow strategy typology. So if you do not know what's been under Potter's five forces, why it's called Potter's? Because Michael Porter is actually the researcher who are professors from Harvard School who are developed these Potter's five forces strategies, and Mile and Snow strategy typology is also derived from the professors who are adopting this kind of the strategy. Okay, and then we have the Potter's competitive advantage. We have differentiation strategy versus low cost leadership. So differentiation strategy to distinguish the product or services from others in the industry. So to make sure that when we're talking about differentiation strategy, it's simple. You want to be rare from others. Nowadays, teenagers would, right? Rare. Nak jadi lain daripada lain. So what the strategy? I give very simple example how IKEA develop differentiation strategy. They have DIY concept, do it yourself. So why DIY? Because they can distinguish their product different from others. You compare to the another furniture industry, mostly furniture industry in Malaysia, what they do, for example, like Zheng Heng, or maybe we have like Coats Mammoths, okay, industry. So basically Malaysian furnitures, they have to produce a certain product until to the end product output. Okay, they not do just half assembly line like what IKEA do. So what IKEA do is one, they want to be a different, they give something like welcoming participation from the customer to be a part of their production line. Okay, so how they do, they implement the concept DIY. So that is the concept differentiation strategy. And when we're talking about low cost leadership, increase market share by keeping costs low compared to the competitors. So this is how the AirAsia, okay, they implement something like low fare ticket to all, everybody, everyone can fly. Yeah, the money is flying too, right? So this is to ensure that they can offering at the low cost of their ticket. So in other way around, okay, organization may choose to focus broad or narrow in reaching multiple market. Okay, so this is the comparison. Okay, we have the two. Okay, differentiation and low cost leadership. We have focus on uniqueness. Okay, example, they have broad scope like Apple, and example narrow scope Edward Jones Investment. So this is go for the financial banking product. And then for the low cost leadership, we have focus on efficiency. Okay, we have low cost, and an example broad scope is the Walmart, and then example narrow scope is Family Dollar. So manager choose which to emphasize. So whether they want to go for differentiation or they want to go for low cost leadership. All right. So this is under Miles and Snow strategy typology. So this is one of models theory that you can use. For example, in your report assignment letter, okay, manager should seek to the formulate strategy that match the demand of the external environment. We have prospector, defender, analyzer, and reactor. So under prospector, we have learning orientation. Okay, we have very flexible, fluid, and decentralized structure. Okay, what's mean decentralized structure? This it means that you give it some of the freedom and flexibility to your top to the lower level, okay, employees, in order to make decision making compared like structured ataupun centralized structured, whereby you must have that top management to make decision making. And under prospector, we have values, creativity, risk taking, and also innovation. So when we're talking about risk taking in here, because we are giving some trust, okay, our lower level employees to make some decision, actually is quite risky. But if you have this kind of creativity thinking, okay, and it can actually boost the motivation among the team, okay, especially for the low level, in order to make some prospect has potential to become a leader. And for defender, efficiency orientation, they are centralized authority, okay, and they are very tight in the cost control, okay. They emphasize on production efficiency, low overhead. So when we're talking about the efficiency orientation, we are talking about the orientation, the system itself. They are centralized to one authority. They have a leader. Mostly they so called as the top management, and also the top level employees, in order to make decision and policy. So they must be tight in terms of the cost control compared to the prospector just now. And then the analyzer balances the efficiency and learning. They also tight cost control with the flexibility and adaptability. So in the analyzer, they emphasize on the creativity, research, and risk taking for innovation. So basically when we're talking about this analyzer, we're talking about how does you can actually able to balancing between the efficiency and also their flexibility. So meaning to say this, compared to defender just now, defender is might quite more strict and firm, okay, but analyzer they are more balancing between these two. And the last one we have reactor. No clear organizational approach. They are design characteristic may shift abruptly depending on the current need. So in here they have no specific organizational approach because they design according to customized approach, okay, and they will depend on the situation, what situation might be occur. Example like this COVID time, right? During this pandemic, everybody might be not too rigid to working, for example, working style. So they change it from maybe they have to stay, maybe they have to go to work. Rather than to go to work, they change it to work from home. So something like that. All right. And how strategy affects the organization design. So we have strategy impact internal organization's characteristic, and managers must design the organization to support the firm's competitive strategy. So you see the word design and strategy been underlined there. All right. So this is how the differentiation. Maybe I want you to highlight on the differentiation on these two diagram because um, it show the differentiation, and maybe in final exam it asking about differentiate between the porter's competitive strategies versus mile and snow strategy typology. All right, so we're moving on to contingency factors affecting organization design. And basically you can see from here we have strategy, environment, technology, size or life cycle, and we have the culture, and under that we have the organizational structure and design. So the right mix of design characteristic fits the contingency factor. So how does, okay, because when we're talking about contingency factor, it's about backup factors, okay, that can affect how you want to design the organization itself. All right, and how we assess it, okay, so how we want to assess the organizational effectiveness. So effectiveness takes into consideration a range of the variable at both the organizational and departmental level. So uh, we're talking about how does both, okay, in terms of the organizational level and departmental level can be equally balances. So that's why this is how does effectiveness take place. And efficiency is relates to the working of the organization and amount of resources used to produce the output. Okay, so how to measure the effectiveness. Okay, they have many approach here. Number one, we have the goal approach. I'm so sorry if you heard some noise behind this because I'm in the office right now. Yeah, I think you not listen, right? Okay, the goal approach, the resource based approach, the internal process approach, and also the strategic constituents approach. Okay, so this is indicator of the organizational effectiveness. Okay, they have 15 here, but maybe we can just lay down a little bit. Okay, number one, we have number one, this is the rule, how to make the organization become effectiveness and systematic. Meeting deadlines, okay, on time delivery. This is very important. When come on time delivery is talking about services. When you promise this promise to your customer and you breach, okay, this promise, it will become like some frustrated dissatisfaction among your customer. So when we're talking about meeting deadlines, talking about how does you promise to your boss, how you promise to the company in order to do the business, okay. And then timely material and equipment acquisition, we are talking about how does you use a certain of the material, okay, and equipment in order to make sure that, okay, when you are doing the business, okay, it have a proper material, and then the material arrive at you at the right time. And then the quality of product or services, we are talking about the quality of the product, okay. We have to make sure that the product have to be how to say that the product is in a good quality, okay, because we're talking about the image of the company. And then number four, we're talking about the customer satisfaction. We are talking about how does the customer able to satisfy for the certain of the product, and also the things that you give product to them, they really like, how to say, satisfied with it. Okay, and at the same time it can revoke or reduce any complaints, because from the complaints actually it can what we can it can actually how to say that, it can actually disturbing the process of our business. So that's why from the complaint it have two consequences. Number one, in the good consequences we can improvise. The bad things and the negative consequences is, in other way around, it tarnish the image of the company. Okay, but at the same time where we can improve back and show it and prove it to the customer, it become better and better. Okay, and for the market share compared to the competitors, we talking about how does the market share that we have belong within the competitors, because we are a part of the cake. Remember, market share is reminding something like you are also a part of the cake. How to say that? Market share. If we have one cake, it's divided into four pieces, and every single four pieces, 25%, 25%, 25%. When you include into the cake, okay, it's become five pieces, right? Five part. And from the 25% just now, it's already become 20%. So that is actually the market share belong to you, that you have to compete with the competitors. And when we're talking about employee training and development, we are talking about the numbers of the hours. Okay, and then we're talking about how we want to stay within the budget and shareholder satisfaction. Okay, we're talking about how you want to make sure that you can satisfy your employee. Okay, and then reduction in cost. When we're talking reduction in cost, we are talking about how you want to make sure that a certain of the production line, they have reducing in terms of how you want to produce the product. Okay, wait now. Okay, and then we have supply chain delay or improvement. So this is a problem also, because if your supply chain delay, and it can actually pending the work have to be accomplished on time. So this is problem. Okay, when you have delay, especially when come in construction, you want to make house, for example, they are not finish, okay, certain of the production line on time. Okay, and then that's why you need to improve. And productivity in terms of dollar spending for each unit of output. And then employee engagement, we're talking about how does the employee can engage each other. And then achieving target sale, we are talking about product development cycle time. Okay, reduction in cycle time. Product development cycle time involving the product that you have to accomplish. And then in terms of, you know that we have PLC, or we have for PLC life cycle, we have introduction stage, we have growth, maturity, and decline stage. So this is how the product development cycle time. And the last one, we have numbers of hours, days, and etc. to complete the task. Okay, I'm so sorry, student, because I'm so sorry, student, because some of your friends in here asked me to add them in the group. So it's like distracting right now. Okay. So numbers of hours to complete the task, meaning to say how many hours you need in order to accomplish your work, your task being given to you, whether it's on time or not on time. Okay. All right. And then we are talking about uh, yeah, the next one. Okay. Approaches to measuring organizational effectiveness. We have a resource input and also product and service output. Okay. And then we have suppliers, creditors under resource input. And then we have employees, owner, government. And then we have the customer community. And we have resource based approach and internal process. And also goal approach. Okay. So this is how the approach to measure the organizational effectiveness. And under the an integrated effectiveness mode, we have competing value models and the human relation that emphasize incorporates the value and internal focus and flexible structure. So under the competing value model, we try to balance concern with the various part of the organization. Okay, and this is their four approaches to effectiveness value. Okay, we have internal, this is already put into the diagram, and it's actually the same as the previous our example just now, our explanation. All right, so as you can see in here in the quadrant under internal and also external, they have four in here. For the yellow color, chocolate color, we have organization A, and for the blue color we have organization B, and then we have human relation emphasize, which is you focusing on the human relations. Okay, meaning to say more on interpersonal soft skill. And for the open system, emphasize on open system. Okay, you can um, welcoming any idea from your employees to the top management example. And rational goal, emphasize on more on rational goal, logic thinking goal. Okay, they are not very rigid. Okay, and internal process is involving how does the company operating within the company. All right, and then the design essential. Okay, this is to sum up about this topic today. Okay, organization exists for a purpose. Of course, we living in this world also with the purpose. We're not just living by our Allah and God just to stay in this world. There must be a purpose as a Khalifah, as slave, okay, to the God, to the Allah, right? So do with the organization. They exist for the purpose. Okay, and the second one, strategy intent includes competitive advantage and core competence. Yeah, because we're talking about how does the company can be distinct from others, and how the company can have the strategic core competence among their employees. And the strategies may include many techniques. As you can see, they have resource based approach, and then they have what core approach just now. Okay, and then there are models to aid in the development of strategy. And then we have organizational effectiveness must be assessed, of course, because we want to make sure whether the strategy is really can be proceed or not, can be implemented or not. And no approach is suitable for every organization. And the last statement might be indeed by me, because why we are talking about organization, the organization nature industry will be totally different from one to one. And if we say only one approach is might be suit to all, is not true. So it have to back to back, back to back, back to back, back to back, have to refer back what is not industry you are, and what actually the routine and profitability that you want. And then to make sure that the right strategy plan might be equivalent and aligning with your organizational strategic goal. I think that is now for me. Okay, thank you so much for listening for my lecture today. And I hope that any question you may shoot in the group WhatsApp later after I add your friend here. Okay, and but at the same time, I will also upload this one in YouTube. After settle this week, I will upload in the Neo. I will edit you all in the system. And then yeah, please subscribe my channel Noorsyalina Nordin for furthermore. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much. Please take care yourself. Have a nice day, and thank you. Assalamualaikum.